Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for hashtag Tarot the Stashway. We are we're at number 29, Tarot and the Sense of Sight. So, this lovely person on the screen with me is Ritchie, Longman Tarot.
I put a thwarp in already.
You did put a thwarp in already. It's so very impressive. I'm Tarot Stash. Thank you for being here. We are simulcasting this on both of our channels, and links to both of our channels are below, as are ways to contact us, ways to support our channels. So there's that. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe because it's free. And as always, this is for entertainment purposes only. Do not make decisions based upon what we say. Seek professional assistance. Really. So
you're so good. You've done that before, haven't you?
I've done that in particular for this about 29 times. About 29 times.
Ritchie, I want to find you an entertainment porpoise.
An entertainment
purposes only.
Oh, for like entertainment purposes only, and
yeah, like a dolphin juggling an entertaining porpoise. Yeah.
Yes. There you go. I wonder how the porpoises feel about us suggesting that they juggle for us.
Exactly.
Yes. So Ritchie and I, we have been talking about tarot and the various senses.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had 4 really good conversations about this, which are linked below so that you can find them very easily. We are eventually going to do a readings focusing on the senses and tarot. But as I was putting this video together, I was like, we've not done the tarot and the sense of sight.
Yeah, we missed that one out. So we have to do that one, don't we?
Yes, yes. And so let's get started by saying hi to some people. We have Hershey, the shadow reader, is here. Hello. We have the amazing Bee, who is here.
Hi.
Great to see you. We have Purple Elephant, Deb H. Hello, Deb. Philippa is here.
Hi, Philippa.
Mary Hernandez Walker.
Hi, Mary.
We have Rose Blue. We have Jane the Seeker Tarot.
Hi, Jane.
And Purple Elephant is always entertained by porpoises.
They are very entertaining animals, to be fair.
They are. They are. And so we have Deb's permission. What else do we need?
There you go.
So we're going to talk about tarot in the sense of sight. And as we've been discussing all of the senses and tarot, we're exploring the cards and seeing and focused on that particular sense and what that card activates for us.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I was thinking about this. I was like, tarot in the sense of sight. Well,
yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That was the easy one. Just look at the thing.
There you go. There you go. And thank you for joining us. The amazing Madame Maru's House of Cards is here.
Hi,
hello. And by the way, dueling Thorpe.
Well, nearly. I couldn't get mine, but perhaps,
Well, I also wonder, could we get porpoises to Thorpe?
I think they could with their flippers,
They could. Jackie's Crystal Moon is here. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
And Jackie is a person who has been doing a series with Soul Alchemy with Indigo Jaguar. and I think is Rain doing that one too. They're exploring the tarot, and I love this. I think
It's
this
what we're here
is
for,
great.
isn't it?
Yes, yes. So thinking about this, I'm going to put Ritchie on the spot. Did you have any
Oh,
initial? Yeah, sorry. Um, did you need me to distract for a second? Do anything to distract you?
you
Okay.
know me, I can talk for hours. Go for it.
Okay. Oh, and Jackie is yes, we do. And
Yes.
yes, that's great. And by the way, Hershey the Shadow Reader was just on Moon Scarab Ramon,
Yeah.
and that was a great conversation. So
I'll go
when
back and look
you
it up.
when you think about tarot and the sense of sight, what are some of your initial reactions or thoughts?
Well, like we said, I mean, the fact is we almost forgot about this one because it was so obvious, because when you pick a card, you look at it, you know. For me, it's about stepping through the border, stepping through into that scene. That's the important bit for me. We've talked about how it might smell, how it might feel, what the touch may be, and all the other senses. But to actually do that thing, which I believe is called path working, isn't it? A lot of people refer to it as path
Yes, I believe
working,
so.
as actually stepping through. You know, let's find a card, stepping up and actually going into the scene. You know, living in, thinking about what is there. Now, there are some tarot decks out there that have actually taken this on and, you know, given us an idea of what the scenery and what's happening around in some of the designs. I've got one here actually. The Tarot of the New Vision. So the Tarot of the New Vision switches everything around, so you see it from behind. So here the fall is, you can see that volcano erupting. Just to give you, I quite like this one, the actual crowd watching the magician, and there's for some reason a monkey behind his back that looks like he's up to some tricks. So I'm not going to go through all of them because you get the idea. Some of them are actually, well, you see the back of a throne, so there's things on it, and people, you know, I don't want to go through it all because that ruins basically what perhaps we're going to be talking about today.
Jackie's Crystal Moon says she likes that deck.
Yeah.
And
I don't use it that often, Jackie, but it's interesting to sometimes, if you need clarification on a card, to go in, and I use it as clarifiers, or I use it for that extra bit of layer, that extra bit of information that you might not need just from another card. Yeah.
Yes. And Mary Hernandez Walker says, we eat with our eyes, so why not see cards like this as well?
Beautiful.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that deck, because there are some great decks out there. There's the vice versa.
Yep.
And then there's also the before and after tarot.
Yep.
The vice versa does a similar thing, to where one side of the card is what we're used to seeing, and then the other side is the
They're on the same card, aren't they?
Yes,
that's right.
Yes. And then the before and after is what's happening before that snapshot of what we see in the card. And then there's the beautiful, the in-between tarot.
Yeah.
With Janine Covington, I believe, and who I would love to get on this channel. I just need to buck up and invite her. But it's so interesting because oftentimes we're visual, and that those visual cues lead us into that storytelling.
Yeah.
So, and
it's about those clues, isn't it? It's about stepping in. I'm going to use that term quite a lot today. I think stepping into the scene and picking up, and perhaps it's that stepping into it, that visual, almost like zooming in, like you sometimes get in films or photographs, that may trigger the other senses to be fired up as well. Because by stepping into it, you might see an incense burner in the high priestess's temple, or you might notice the pumpkins on the Three of Cups a bit more, and be picking up on all of those vibes. So it's the first way of getting into the card, and it can then trigger or set off lots of wonderful adventures that way.
Well said. I do want to say hi to a few more people. Jacob
Do.
Bush is here. Hello,
Hey,
Jacob.
Jacob.
Good to see you. And I did see, Philippa is glad you're feeling better, Ritchie.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, much better. Thank you.
And Russ Bob's Barbara is here. And
Hi,
Jane and Rose Blue are
Rose.
on their phones.
Oh, brilliant.
And Philippa has said, I see different things each time. I often find my focus is drawn to something that hasn't been important other times.
Yeah.
That is thwarp worthy, because in the Robin Wood Tarot, the book, Robin Wood does talk about that. And she's saying, look at the card. If you've not noticed this particular thing on the card, that's significant, and you pay attention to that. So I agree with you. I agree with you.
And I'm just going to say as well, we've done a lot of readings together over the years, Gerald, and quite often they're very fast, the readings we've done online for people. It's very much, right, you go, I go. I wouldn't normally do tarot readings that quickly if I was doing a individual one. And so therefore what you tend to do is scan, well, I tend to scan the card and grab onto those little things, those little bits that you might not notice, or something that you do like that draws you into that card. And that again is really important, that latch into it, that key getting into it.
Yes. And this is something, to be honest with you, it's something that when people get private readings, there's more of an opportunity to explore the tarot using these senses and these other aspects. Maru said, honestly, the color of the traditional RWS is why I don't like using it. But I have found a few versions I like. Tarot of Traditions is my favorite. I don't think I have Tarot of the Traditions.
I think I have. I have quite a few. I've got the Radiant Wise and the Radiant Tarot, which I really like. Is really bright. But I absolutely hear what Maru's saying, particularly if you buy one of the recent reprints. The colours are so muddy and disgusting. You need to find something that's a bit more exciting, I think, because it hasn't coloured well, the cheap ones.
Yeah. I do, because, in 2025, I'm going to be teaching Tarot the Stash Way. And what's really important is you pick a deck that works for you from a visual standpoint. It works for you from, not just visual, but what are the key things for you? Do you need representation? Do you need modern look? Do you need an ancient? Do you need pips? Do you need much more of a story in the cards? Because tarot really is about telling a story.
Yeah.
And and Maruta said the Radiant is the other two I like. The Radiants are the other two.
Yes.
So.
No, you're right. And again, that's why we tend to buy more than one deck, and certainly, I've certainly got more than one deck, and as I'm sure you have. But there are certain times where you might need a theme or a color. For example, the color of the Tarot of Oneness, a deck that both of us love. The colors in it are just phenomenal. Even the darker cards are beautiful there. And I was just thinking, as we're going into the darker half of the year, oh, look at that. And this need some of that color in my life.
Yes. And we oftentimes see the Fool, but this is a new perspective of it. So what it does is it does change our viewpoint. So visually, our viewpoint is different. That is really significant. I find it's really, really powerful.
It's interesting that during all of the ones we've done, I've gone back to the traditional RWS, and I've gone for the big ones just so people can see them on the camera a bit bigger. And it's interesting because I don't often use the traditional RWS. And it's been nice actually tying this in, because I just thought I want to go back to, you know, a copy of the first ever Rider-Waite-Smith version to pick this up, because yes, there's lots of decks that have got lots of color and lots of themes and lots of things, and that can for me cloud, you know, one of the senses if that's the case. So I would be very careful as to what you're going to use if you're going to use going to try this readings with the different senses, or perhaps any kind of reading. It might just jar, it might just not fit. An example of that is I've got a beautiful steampunk tarot which I absolutely love, but it's a really difficult deck to see in a dark at nighttime or somewhere with dim lighting, you know. And it's like you don't want to, you want to be in a comfortable position when you do a reading, not having to sort of peer into the cards and not work and not being able to see half of them.
Are you saying that doing this might not be a good thing? Because sometimes I have to. Yes, yes. No, I understand. I understand, because that's also a really good point. We've also talked about color, tarot, and colors, and how what colors bring up for us emotionally and visually, and the like. So you're bringing up a really good point for that. Your cauldron cup is loved.
Thank you. It's got a wonky base, and that means I love it a bit more. So when I put it down, it kind of tips, not doesn't tip the tea over, but it wobbles, and I like that. I was going to take it back to the shop, and I thought, no, it's unique. It's a bit like me. It's a bit wonky.
Yes. And Deb says a deck first speaks to you through sight.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we're doing flip throughs of decks and looking at things on catalog, that's it, isn't it? That's our first port of call. We can't do anything else. We can't touch them. We can't look at them. That's how we interact with them. And so, and that in many ways is what the designer or the creator is all about, isn't it? It's about putting their creative stamp, whether it's a colorful deck or a monochrome deck. It's about putting their stamp on it, but it's got to be able to catch your attention. And if anyone's ever backed anything on Kickstarter, you'll know that the ones that draw in the attention are the ones that are colorful and well laid out, and those that are a little bit difficult to see often don't get, you know, the full backing, because the visuals aren't there to work in their favor.
Yes. So thinking about the tarot and the sense of sight, there's something also that is important, and it's the layout, how you lay the cards out. I think that's an interesting thing, because oftentimes when I'm doing a 3-card reading online, I'm doing them in a straight line. There's just 3 cards. Or and then I do some, or if I'm doing a private reading, I'm laying out 10 cards and a Celtic cross, or I'm doing a circle with them, or I'm doing the as above, so below sort of thing. So, and
again, it's how they, when you look at them, how they read in a spread or a reading. We talked earlier about it being like a comic strip. I always see it as like a storyboard for a film, if you know what that is, or literally reading it like a comic strip. Again, that kind of goes back a bit to Lenormand reading, and that's really interesting to do that method as well. But it's combining the visuals and seeing what works, what image may jar against the other, what are the colors up to, even the way that the cards are facing one another. It's all very, very important.
And this just in, Brian, Blushing Nerd Tarot, is in work lurker mode, so he's back to stealth. And Tom, Early Ritual, I feel like I am watching a Cronenberg film where 2 men are merging into one through the mustaches. So there you go. Merita said, I go from pastels and spirit song to the jewel tones in the Illuminati to the depth of the Baroque by Mustafa. Colors affect mood. Colors do affect mood.
Yes. And also, it's interesting you brought up the Illuminati. There are some decks and that is one of them that just I can't read because they are too busy on my eyes.
Yeah. Yes. And Art Mancy is lurking at Target. So
Oh, I
hello,
love that.
I
Shopping
love
whilst
that.
listening to us. Wonderful.
Yes. Well, and that's also that's a really good point. Is how much visual information can you take in?
Hmm.
And I believe part of it is um it depends upon your mood as a reader.
Yes.
It also depends upon the type of reading for me. Because if a particular type of reading, I can't have too much information.
No, I'll tell you, I'm just trying to. Here it is. Oh, no, not that one. It must be. I'm going to find you the one that does my heading in the RWS.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here it is. It's this one. It's like a migraine just happening for me, that one.
The King of Pentacles.
I just can't actually, with my vision, kind of see what's the clothes, what's
It
the
is there's
background.
yes. Yeah.
And I suppose that's part of it, is that the King of Pentacles is, that woodland, almost kind of nature spirity kind of
Mhm.
Oberon-esque kind of. You could go down that road if you wanted to. So he should kind of be growing into the background, but come on, that just does my head in, that one. And quite often when this King of Pentacles turns up, it puts me in a bit of a bad mood, and I try and kind of quickly read it and move on. So other decks, like your Robin Wood, so much better when it comes to some of those.
Yeah. So I love so visually I think the layout matters because you're right. It's like a comic strip. It's a storyboard. And I'm looking over, and there's where I have my transparent tarot, the one by Emily Carding, that was really, really empowering for me, because that one you can actually layer the cards on top of each other to create new images.
Yes.
So so it's really, really powerful. This idea of path working or stepping into the card to find out what's going on. Have you done much of that?
I haven't. I tend to go in slightly different, and I'm really sorry if I'm going to repeat myself here, because a few years ago, when Tarathon was on, I did a section on the RWS and about
it was brilliant,
the
stage,
the theatrical, yes, the theatrical representation. And I don't want to go back over that because people can watch it, and if anyone wants to put a link into chat, I can. But there's some cards, particularly the major arcana, where the characters just stare at you. And I mean, if you come face to face with the devil staring at you, and there's no way you're going to step much further into the card. You're not going to. He's staring you out. You're not going to get that far. Compared to something like Six of Cups, gorgeous. You want to be in there. You want to be running around with the kids and going into those houses and playing with the cups and the flag. You know what I mean? That's more inviting than being stared at by Lucifer here, or whoever we think he is. And so that kind of, when I get involved into doing the path working, I tend to then look at the mechanics of the card, how it's drawn. So again, I've spoken about how a lot of it uses stage scenery or backdrops or puts things on stage. For example, this one, you can actually see the line along there, which is the scenery line, and that's a brown stage on it. It's a backcloth, and so I have to pull myself back from not going down that road too often. But it's very easy to do that one. So I don't tend to do path working, as in that I will sit and meditate on a card, but usually there'll be other bits that will come out from it rather than me stepping in and going on that path. So that's just for me. What about you?
I'm going to say hi to Saskia Handley is here.
Hi.
And Tom has said that's how every card in the Tildwick feels to me. So busy, just in the style of artwork.
Yeah.
Yes. And Garnet is here. Hello, Garnet.
Hey, Garnet.
I think for me, I can do that. What oftentimes happens for me, Richie, is the cards are interacting with each other.
Mm,
Like the fool is facing, the fool is running away from,
yeah.
or the fool is coming to tell the emperor that he has no clothes on. So there's
Brilliant.
this
Yeah.
interaction that way.
Yeah.
But as I'm laying these out, I also encourage people to pay attention to the horizon line in the backgrounds, and do the
Mm,
backgrounds match,
yes.
because there are some beautiful
Interesting.
tarot
That
decks.
two you picked, I don't know whether you did that deliberately, but one's almost
Yeah.
like a reverse of the other. You've got the
Mhm.
mountains and you've got the clouds in there. Yeah, I absolutely love it. The backgrounds are incredibly important and have always been important in the RWS.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we tend to focus on the foreground and forget the backgrounds because they look a bit twee, or perhaps they look a bit, out of focus. Our focus, but the backgrounds are really important, particularly for me, because when Pamela Coleman Smith was um, drawing them, making these cards up, she was staying actually not far away from where I live, in a village called Tenterton. She was
Mhm.
living with the actress Ellen Terry at the time, who she was best friends with. And they lived just, as I said, about an hour's drive from me. And a lot of the villages around there and Tenterton and around that area have all got these red kind of tile roofs, and have all got
Sure.
these bridges and, things like that. In fact, can I show you a picture to illustrate it?
Oh, yes, please do.
I'm going to share. This is the village of Tenterton. Let's just remember how I can do this. I'm going to share my screen with you. So there we go. So there we are. So you can see they've got those red tile roofs, which are traditional of this area. They're really old. You've got these gabled houses. You've got this bridge,
Mhm.
and this bridge here looks very much like the bridge on the Five of Cups, actually. And you've got a church. So the whole area around here is very much looks like that. So when I set foot out around here, I'm lucky enough to have some beautiful villages like that around
It's
here.
true.
And so stepping into some of these cards is a bit like me stepping out my back door, literally.
Yeah. And I would also say, Richie, when you see something like this site will trigger a memory.
Mm,
And so how does that memory support the the meaning of the card or the reading?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and
All right.
Tom I was going to say that looks so much
Yeah,
like the Five of Cups bridge.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. There are some people that have been around this area and have kind of mapped backgrounds of the local area to Ellen Terry's house, and I don't know. Yeah, I will stop sharing now so we get back to that one. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's interested, if you Google Small Hythe or Tenterton, or to put in Pamela Coleman Smith, Kent, you'll see lots of pictures come up of the area that she lived in. And yeah, they all pretty much look like, I'm just trying to think of one. Yeah, there we go on that one. The old red tile
Mhm.
cottage, and the water. It's all around here. So it's all on my doorstep. So sorry, I went off
No,
down a
this is
tangent,
great.
which was beautiful, and I'm pleased I did, but I can't remember what the question was now.
Well, I think part of it is as we're looking around and we're using that path working, we're connecting with the cards, and we're using it to help us tell the story.
Yeah.
So path working, I was just looking at the Mary Kay Greer 21 ways to read a tarot card, and she's talking about using your imagination and going into the card, or
Yeah.
having the person for whom you're reading say, what do you think is going on in this card? What is around the corner? And it's a great way to get more people, or to get your client to be engaged with it. Hi,
Yeah.
Nicole. Good to see you.
Hi.
Um, so, um,
Yeah.
so looking around the cards, it's hard to do that online for
Yeah.
quick reading.
Yes.
Um,
It's something you have to spend time on. And as I say, you can't do it quickly. It takes practice as well. And my mind quite often is flicking away, um, trying to desperately find something to cling on to sometimes, and it doesn't have time to do that. But
yeah,
um,
insight on the
should
card,
we give it a
absolutely.
go? Should we see what people can come up with? Should we like to do this?
Sure, let's do it, Richie.
So I'm going to hold up one of my favorites. It's the High Priestess. So
Mm-hmm.
we have already got a bit of a glimpse of what's going on with the pillars. We've got a hint of something behind the veil there, a bit of water. But I'm just wondering, what would people expect if they were to step forward? Like we have nowadays, 3D cameras. What do they call them? We can put them on, and you could go around and see it
Uh-huh.
all. What would it look like? Would it have a ceiling? Would it be ornate? Is it crumbling? Where is she? Is she on an island? Which is why, I'm not going to give away too much because I don't want to
Yeah.
destroy people's. But
Well,
I'd be really interested to know what
and
people come up with.
yeah, and looking at that, it's a really interesting thing because you can't really tell if she's indoors or outdoors. Is it I don't know, a patio or something like
Mm,
that that's looking out on the gardens?
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Maru, 360 degrees. So everybody who's watching, looking at this card, what do you think is going on
Yeah.
around that card? If you were to step in and look to your left and look to your right, what do you see?
What's
What are
the
you going to
floor
see?
like? What's the ceiling like? What can you see? Is there a ceiling? Is it open
Hmm.
to the elements?
Yeah.
I'm going to put the card down now. My hand's aching.
Yeah. So, and that's something that as you are doing reading and you're exploring more with the tarot, to do pay attention to that and be curious about it. What is it? And
Yeah,
in particular, where that card falls in the reading could give a different sense of that.
absolutely. Because once you start building this up, particularly again for the majors, you could start to add others in. What's happening when this chap comes along? Is
Hmm.
he, what's he doing inside? How is he reacting to the space of being inside? Let's call it a temple or
Yes.
wherever it is, a sacred space. How does he therefore react by being in somebody else's space? Incredibly layered there.
Yes.
Could spend days pondering that thought. There's
Oh,
huge
yeah.
books to be written, but it's again something fun to play with, particularly you know if you're learning the tarot. We're always learning the tarot. I don't think anyone ever stops learning the tarot. But all these games, all these activities are really good ways of just helping build up the picture,
Hmm.
and it's
Yes.
it's worth doing just as an exercise.
Joanne has said you're about to have an audience with her.
Yeah,
Philippa said she's sitting in an outdoor temple in a beautiful garden.
lovely.
Tom, early ritual, said, I always felt like it is a patio space off a ritual temple space, right on the edge overlooking the water.
Oh,
And Merita said, I believe she is indoors in front of her acolytes.
nice.
And in the Taramuka, the moon is the back of that card.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. Believe
love
it or
it.
not, I do not own the Taramuka. And I have always thought the high priestess as being in a temple.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, and that's interesting because in the RWS, Pamela Coleman Smith, that's how it's depicted. In the Robin
mm,
Wood, this is how it's depicted.
beautiful.
Obviously, we've got it's a full moon out. She is outdoors. We
I'd say
still
in a
have,
grey.
we still have the black and white.
Yeah.
And we also have, we have the charm, her necklace, her crown, and the sphere, the crystal ball, and the book. So
That's beautiful. When you hold it up, there's so many parallels. I just noticed the moon is about the same size as the sphere in her hand, and her hair looks like she's transforming into a crow or a raven. It's beautiful.
yes, absolutely. So Peace Mama is here. Hello.
Hi, Peace Mama.
And yes, Tom, there are decks that I don't own. And Lane.
Hi, Lane.
Ritchie, who I love after one time seeing. Duh. And the stash. But we are actually not doing readings today. So we're not doing readings today. I know, do some searches. There's more people who are going to be doing readings today.
Or get in contact with us. So
yes, we can do
doing readings next week as well. So if you can hold on, we will be doing rock, paper, scissors.
We will be doing rock, paper, scissors. Yes.
So you can hold on for a week, come back, we can do it then for you.
Mm-hmm. And acolyte is a great word. It's up there with sarcophagus. Yes.
Absolutely. Oh, hang on, that deserves that.
I should be writing these down. Lane has been lurking.
Hi, Lane.
St. Paul's moon has just been delivered. I must retrieve it. Paul's moon. St. Paul's. Paul's moon.
I love it.
Oh dear, I love this deck. Purchase responsibly. Yes. Purchase responsibly. Know your limits. We are here to share, not to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So I do find it I find it interesting that what draws our attention is also determined by the cards around it and the links with that. Because if you put 3 cards down and you have, there's red in every card, that is something that can get our attention, and we can play with that. What does that mean? What's that suggest to you?
That's important, because quite often when we do our long stash readings, there's 3 of us, and quite often we'll go, oh, look at the colors in that one. You'll notice that there's a theme that runs through different decks and oracles and tarot decks, and we'll link those up together. And quite often that's quite an important message that needs to be delivered in that one.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's like I like the death card here in the Robin Wood, because death is wearing a red or scarlet robe, and it's got this big flag on it with a white rose. But and so when you look at that, there's also in this, there's a small butterfly.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can point there. It's a small butterfly. There's birch trees behind. And so those are important things that you may not know.
Really important. And link into other cards. So you've got the butterfly and the white rose, which is often on the full card.
And there's the butterfly right there. So, and So I think it's really interesting looking at giving that ability to have that connection. Now, that being said, and we've already talked a little bit about this, Ritchie, noticing the small little details that we may miss when we're doing a quick first glance.
Yeah.
But then we also have, we can also notice the physical stance of the people in the cards.
Yeah.
Because those are related as well.
Yeah.
So
let's go with this one. This, I think, I've decided this week, the 3 of Wands is possibly my most favorite card in the tarot deck.
The 3 of Wands?
Yeah.
I'm going to show mine.
Get yours out.
Yep.
I mean, again, this is a card actually about looking, isn't it? You can see, particularly with your one, their hands are up to their eyes, shading the sun. They're having a good search of the horizon. They're looking out at what's happening. So this is a card that is actually active looking. And then you actually become the person standing behind them, the one that's looking over their shoulder, the one that's joining in that looking. I would challenge anyone, if you turn this card over, to just for a moment not try and work out, think about what are they looking at, what's happening in this card. This one really I find exciting, and when it comes to a reading with this card and this one coming up in a spread, it just fills me with absolute joy and potential. And for me, that is what this card is about. It's that moment just before the gunshot of a race, just before you're about to cross the start line. And it's exciting. That is an exciting time. The world is full of potential, and it isn't necessarily about, where have my ships got to. This is about they could be anywhere, and there is still so much potential with the situation. When you go looking for it, of course.
When you use your sight to go looking for it. And Hershey is going into lurking mode because these prompts are kicking her butt. Sorry. I mean, but so yeah, I think you're right. There are some cards that really invite us to join in, and I think this is the perfect card for that.
Yeah.
This is a perfect card for that. And I have to go back to what you said, with the devil. You look at the devil and it's like, well, in your card, no.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But, in the Robin Wood devil, we are pulled in.
Yeah.
We're pulled in differently.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Now, one that's always I found interesting is the Magician card. Because path working means you would put yourself in the position of either being the magician, which is often what comes up in the reading, above and below, and making good of all your talents and stuff like that. But here, this one makes me want to stand back and be a bystander in the crowd, very much like I showed you actually with the other deck.
Oh, yeah. You want to be entertained. Yes.
Yeah. Entertain me. Show me what you've got. And also there's a little bit of, because there's a table between them and a flower border, one would presume, there is a little hint of don't get too near him. Don't get too near me. A bit like, I'm sure you've been to a drag show or something like that, and you think, oh my God, they're going to pick on me. You know what I mean? It's like that moment. Yeah.
Yes.
It's got a hint of that. It's a slight wariness I get about this card. And that is purely because of the way it's been drawn. The fact that they're slightly raised up, but you can feel, even though you can't see very well what he's looking at, you kind of get the sense that he is looking into your soul a little bit, and don't get too near.
It's very, very true. And, yes, I mean, that's a pull in. I think this for me, looking at the major, is another pull in. The Empress is spinning, using her spinning wheel. I almost went, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze.
Oh, bless you. I'm so pleased you muted that one.
Me too, because my microphone is right there. This is one that really does draw you in. It says, come on, sit down. Let me tell you some stories. Let me tell you how things are going to work. Yeah. Let me tell you how to fix what you've done wrong.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So.
But then on the flip side of that, you have this lady.
Yes.
Who's very much, don't go near me. I'm holding out my hand. Don't you dare touch it.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Well, and I am going to bring up something just to taunt Hershey, who is lurking. The Hierophant. Ooh. She's not a fan of the Hierophant.
She's not a fan of our Hierophant.
And when you look at this, there's a lot of embroidery on this. on the garb that he is wearing, the Pope or whomever. There's stories that are told, can be told in that embroidery. Notice that, because they've got roses on there. There's green, and it's important to look at that. So,
but his expression on that card is kind of a bit. Well, there's a lot. It's a bit emotionless, isn't it? Which is what I think is one of the keys to this card. And it's very much, again, be raised up, look at me, but don't come near me. Listen to what I say, listen to the information I impart. Do it my way, do it the traditional way. I'm the teacher, I'm the one that needs to be listened to. And his expression makes you actually want to question all of that, doesn't it? With
yes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And I also notice the expression as an artist. I know it's challenging to capture facial expressions in paintings. It's easier to do it in a photograph. It's hard to do it. I think what's interesting is when you look at these two acolytes, one acolyte looks happy and one acolyte does not look happy.
Right.
So, and Hershey is it creeps her out, and yes,
I know what she means. I know what she means by this. There is something about the card that makes you go, ooh.
Well, and visually, it also our visual cues. It's the same thing as with all of the other senses. What do we associate with that? And Jane the Seeker is thinking about the hippie Hierophant, which I like.
I like the one in, oh gosh, what's the one of it?
Is it the
Lightseers?
Yeah, I was just going to say Beth's favorite deck. I can say that since Beth isn't here to defend herself. It's the Super Lunaris hippie.
Yeah.
So, okay, what card do you have there, Ritchie?
Well, there's something we haven't talked about. And I'm sorry if this is going to drop us down a rabbit hole that lasts for half an hour. But what happens when you look with your third eye? Perhaps you get this going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't happen that often, but those people that like to use the third eye, the intuition, for me, this card represents a lot that's going on there. You've got the cloud, and Pamela Coleman-Smith, bless her, does like some clouds to let you know what's the mood of the event's going to be. So here with the 5, the clouds are very torn. With the Knight of Swords, it looks like the sky's being ripped apart. Here you've got these dream-like, but I mean, what's happening here? Obviously, these things aren't real. It's something that's he is seeing in his third eye, or is he dreaming it? Or are we dreaming of him dreaming? Do you see what I mean? There's a lot going on there with this one. It does my head in, this card, sometimes when I start.
Well, and I think you said it there. Is he dreaming of that, or is he dreaming of that?
Yeah, exactly.
And then is he dreaming of dreaming that and watching it in a dream in his dream? So, and Sylvia, Color for Foresight, is here. Good to see you. And Peace Mama agrees with Jane, who likes the Super Lunaris.
Yeah.
So, and I think it is one of these things. I encourage people to stretch themselves a bit and be willing to be uncomfortable as they try to get into the cards. I mean, full disclosure, if you can't look at cards that have glitter on them, then don't get yourself a glitter tarot deck. Don't hate anybody who likes a glitter tarot deck. Jamie and I were talking there. I'm looking forward to the. I was like, why is there a conundrum? Condom. Why is there a condom in that card?
Oh, the one on the top.
because they practice safe spiritualism. So, no, but I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to getting the tarot struck cards. It's always about
Cards down, everyone.
yes, but the Jennifer Steele's she's the artist who did Tarot Assembled, Tarot Disassembled. She has a new deck, the Tarot Symbala, coming out.
Yeah.
Symbala, and it's a round deck. And Jamie said,
right.
Jamie's like going, I'm not going to be able to use it because it's too confusing. It's too hard for her to read. And I fully support anybody who is willing to go, you know what? I appreciate that. I'm not going to be able to use it. It's great in other people's hands.
Yeah.
So
there is that. Yeah, I don't actually have a deck that is anything than rectangular shaped. I don't have a round deck. I don't have a square deck, anything like that at all. Because I think I would just have trouble reading with them. I have enough trouble reading with a rectangular one, let alone other shapes.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So go ahead.
Sorry. No, I mean, there's so many stories in these cards. And I think that is the thing to take away with this. I mean, I'm just happened to pull our lovely eight of cups here, and that the fact that, again, this is a good path working card, because I would love to just jump over those cups, run into the card and go, come on, tell us, why are you walking away? What is it?
Yeah.
What was so horrible that you had to leave it? Or what was so good that you had to leave it? What is your story? And that's what really intrigues me with this. And by looking around, seeing the craggy rocks and the water and the lunar eclipse or the solar eclipse that's going on there, so many fascinating bits that you could add into the story there. And I would encourage anyone just to try any of those tips, just to try out, see what happens.
Oh yes. And what's really fascinating, excuse me, I have the hiccups.
Oh no. Do you have a drink there?
Yes, everybody sip.
Would you like me to fan you? Would that be better?
No, that's okay. And Mary Hernandez Walker says, I'm here to learn. Well, I'm glad you're here. And Joanne Mayhew is here. Peace Mama said, good point, Gerald. That's one of the reasons I really loved watching readers that use different cards, because I learned so much from their insights from the cards. So I also think when you have an opportunity to get a book where the artist talks about their process, it does give you some more opportunity and more layers of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those things that if you're doing that, it's like, oh, I'm recognizing this symbol, and this symbol was created like this in this card, and it does relate to another card and another card. It's like the lovers are the same couple who was in The Devil.
Yeah.
And so that's something that can be really insightful, because again, those visual cues, those things that link us together, really, really help.
And the joy of the tarot is that you can use a deck that you've been using for years and years and years, and it takes a moment for someone to say something like that, to realize that you've been looking at this thing for however long it's been, and you've never noticed it. And again, that linking is so wonderful. And then you can then expand that out into starting to use, perhaps using oracle cards with it. It is just so exciting, so tangible, and reads the guidebook. And I'm the worst person for ever doing that. In fact, what I did is took loads of guidebooks on holiday with me without the deck, so that I wasn't
Oh, so
tempted
you had to read them instead of playing
to
with the
read
card.
them. It wasn't easy, but there were some incredibly good guidebooks. Some guidebooks that just don't attract will pull me in straight away on that one there. And I am a bad person for never reading the guidebooks, but I'm trying to get better. Lord, I'm trying to get better. Yeah.
Well, okay. So I think, a really good thing is, thinking about Tarot the Stashaway and tarot in the sense of sight. What is it that initially attracts your attention? What draws you into the card? And that could be something really wonderful. It could also be something that's annoying with the card. Because, I was talking when I was doing my color confidence for quilters workshop. It's like our mind understands an analogous color scheme where the colors just flow next to each other. And then suddenly, if something is sort of out of whack, we go, wait a minute, something's not right there. And we have a difficult time articulating that until we learn the language. Right. Sometimes that, for me as a reader, when something goes, that doesn't look right to me, something's not going on with that, I have to pay attention to that. That's for me as a reader. If there's something that is annoying me visually, I need to understand what's the message behind that.
Yeah. You're very patient. I perhaps don't have that patience as a Taurian on that one. There are some cards that I love spending a lot of time with. Three of Wands is a good example. Something that annoys me is this one annoys me quite a bit.
Oh, the Four of Pentacles.
Yeah, I find it rather difficult sometimes to interpret some cards when they just piss me off a little bit. And this is one because I just don't like the vibe I get off this character or the situation or the body language. And I've tried so hard to work with him, but our paths sometimes cross. But when they do, I make sure we don't hang around with each other too long.
Well, how about this Four of coins?
Oh, it gets worse.
Yes, because I'm like going, he has obviously boxed himself in.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very interesting. Yeah, because part of what I've discovered recently, Ritchie, is that sometimes this card shows up and it's a reminder not to hold on so tightly to the resources that we have. Yeah. And that's modified by the cards around it. Totally,
absolutely. Yeah. But again, it's that, as we said right at the beginning, it's that visual, something upsets you. And I don't know what, I think it's the way he's sitting, the way he's, just everything about it just puts my back up about it. And even the way it's theatrical, when it's just like, I have to learn to sit with it. And that is the message that comes through, is that this card is not comfortable.
Yes. And that's a really good thing. Knowing that card is not comfortable can bring a lot of depth to a reading. And Peace Mama said, are there lending libraries for great books like that? I think, if you have a choice to get a book by the creator, I'm a big fan of that. But sometimes you do have to pay extra for it, and I know money can be a concern for people. Sometimes if you can't buy that book with it, because in some sets they sell just the deck, and then some they have the deck and the book. Sometimes you can find the book at like a used bookstore.
That's like what I would recommend, used bookstore. Which again is sometimes weird. I've often seen, occasionally I've seen the guidebook to a deck in a used bookstore, but not the deck. And it's like, and I bought that occasionally. I go, oh, that looks like an interesting tarot book. Only to realise it's a guidebook for a deck I don't have.
Yeah.
But the good thing about that is that you can then, make notes in it, or highlight bits, or put tags, or whatever you can. You use the guidebook, and that's what I would say for anyone with a tarot book. Is it may look lovely on the shelf, but it's meant to be thumbed through. It's meant to have its corners bent over. It's meant to have comments written in, and notes made on it.
Absolutely.
I don't normally do that with most of my books generally, but when it comes to books on tarot and divination, I don't hold back with the old biro and the old highlighters.
I do that for some of my precious books. I'm just like going, hey, it's mine.
And you do that with your decks as well, don't you?
I do. I'm not afraid to write on my decks because they're mine. Yeah, Ritchie will have none of that, but
I hadn't quite. That just put me in shock. Just the thought of it. I'm going to have to do some therapy on that.
Well, but yeah, I mean, they're mine. I mean, so
exactly. And as long as they're not rare or expensive or out of print, you can always get another copy, can't you?
Yes, and maybe my writing on it is going to make it even more interesting for the next person.
There you go.
How's that? Sylvia said, what is it great about different creators for tarot is the illustration is different. So the visuals can be different. Let's say the High Priestess, for example, different sense of seeing. Yes. And that's something that I would encourage, if there's a takeaway for talking about the tarot and the sense of sight, I think it's really important to remember anything that you see, including the words, can have an influence. So the symbols that are there, are those symbols repeated? Are those colors repeated?
Yeah.
Are the gestures repeated? In which direction is the person facing?
Yeah.
I took the read with me class with sadhana from integrative healing with sadhana.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And it was visually looking at the cards and what's the story that is being told.
Yeah.
Really elevated my reading and my understanding and my willingness to explore the tarot.
That's amazing. And again, it's something that I often forget to do. Again, in the rush to get the reading out, the excitement of the words start tumbling out your mouth. Pause. What's the story behind it? Or as you said, which way are they facing? How are they interacting? What's all the other senses doing? Because
yes,
bring them all in together. Why not?
Yes. And font is extremely important. People know that I have opinions about fonts. If I can't read it, and if I care enough, I'll be using my marker on top of it so that I can see it. And Peace Mama loves a used bookstore. Some used ones there. And with used bookstores, you have to go around, and if you do stuff online, make sure you are purchasing responsibly and not thinking you're getting a tarot deck when you're just getting the guidebook.
Yes.
So ask me how I know.
Again, sometimes when we're studying a deck or we're doing a reading for ourselves, just the journaling part of it, make it visual, add the senses into that one as well. So your actual response to it can be, creative in that way. Do a color drawing, and again, I'm not a great advocate for tarot coloring books. I have to be brutally honest. But again, there's your opportunity to get creative and bring your own viewpoint into it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are enjoying the coloring. It's very relaxing for them.
Yeah.
Great. Do it. Have some fun.
Yeah.
Do it. Have great fun. Any last thoughts, Ritchie, for people and tarot and the sense of sight?
No, I mean, we could talk about this for days, but it's been nice just to, pop in. It's nice to tie it all together, and I would really recommend, if you haven't watched, hi Chris, the other ones that we've done on this, to go back and watch them, because
Yes.
this one's been lovely and quite generic and probably what we use. The other ones are much more specific because we were much more focused on it, because it's something that's unusual to do. So I would really recommend to go back and watch the other 4 videos if you haven't done so yet.
Well, and the other great thing is if you have looked at these cards for a long time, ask somebody who's never looked at them before. What do you notice in that? People, they have kids who are looking
Yeah,
at cards, and what do you see in this card? It's so interesting what a fresh set of eyes can do for you. And
yeah,
I've had a large spread out for a couple of days, and I finally invite Jeffrey to go, what are you seeing here?
yeah.
And he sees something different. So
Quite often people will put that up on Facebook. They might do a reading and ask, can I have help with the interpretation of it? And if you
Mhm.
feel like you'd like to do that, it's a really good way to branch out and have a go at it. Even you don't have to comment, but you could be thinking about it. And I've often, when I have once taught a class to people, I actually get them on the first couple of sessions to hold up a card, and they have to describe it, and the other person has to draw it from the
Oh,
description of
interesting.
it all, so that people are really looking in depth at all the different things.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to therefore, and you don't have to do that with cards. You can literally do that with anything, and that's quite a nice icebreaker, and it does help people's perception of what they can see and how they can describe stuff. It's a really good talent.
And if you're just wanting to focus on only the symbols on the cards, there are decks that do that. Tarot disassembled, the tarot
Mm,
assembled. And there's more of those out there that are just, they boil it all down to one image. That's an interesting exercise too. So we had this great comment from Medeha Ness. When I first started learning about tarot, all the books said draw a card daily. So I started pulling a card every day and drew it. Took me a while to understand drawing was pulling a card.
wonderful.
However, it was fun. I was drawing
Yeah,
little sketches of an aspect of the card.
brilliant.
That is brilliant.
Yeah,
And I love the idea that you were drawing it, because that you probably have got some really good understanding about some cards and connections to it.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. That's
so
fantastic. Oh, I wish I could do that. Sometimes
yeah,
I think I'd like to go back and kind of relearn it all, and not forget what we've already done. But it must be nice at that time when you start
to have
off.
that.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? The
yeah, to
halcyon
have,
days of tarot.
yes, and to be willing to look at it in all of these different ways. Thank you,
Yeah.
Philippa.
Oh, thank you.
And I have to put this up there in case Jeffrey rewatches this video. Chris from Elemental Cartomancy says Jeffrey is a wee babe.
That was a
So,
really bad Scottish accent, Chris. I do apologise for
am I going to have to remove you from the screen for that one? That's
that.
so. Ritchie and I next Friday we're doing rock paper scissors
Oh,
readings.
we've got some readings coming up actually, because next Friday is with Ali. Is it your channel? I think we're doing it on your channel, aren't
Yes,
we?
yes, I get to host it.
So we're doing rock, paper, scissors, which is lovely, and I absolutely love it. Good fun. So if you want a reading then. And then the following week we got we're with Bobby.
Yes,
So we're doing more readings. So we've got more readings coming out of our ears every Friday at this time.
there you go. And so it's really important that everybody likes and subscribes to the channel. Make sure that you are subscribed to both of our channels. That does help. I've got lots of great stuff coming up in October, so it's really, really fun. And you're welcome, Mary Hernandez Walker.
Oh,
And
nice. Lovely
uh,
phrase.
Medihad did have a good time with it. And it's like the Four of Pentacles makes me think of a basketball player that can't score because he won't share the ball. That's good.
Loving it.
I love that. You're welcome. And Chris says, you should get some more readers and do a rock, paper, scissors, lizard Spock readings. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. So thank you all. Again, links are below to all of our channels as to different ways to show your support for the channels, including making a donation to Ritchie's favorite charity, to the channel through PayPal for me, to contact us for readings. So it's awesome.
You know what to do.
And so you might get tired of us. I hope you don't.
Who would get tired of us?
I have no idea. Poor Allie better have her fan for next Friday. So, all right, everyone, you take care and have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.